Hi! All right, so today we're talking about...
Why is it all about you? The 7 Deadly Sins of Narcissism. Sandy Hodgkiss, I love you. I love your book.
Do you know a narcissist? If you're alive, you probably know a narcissist, right?
And it probably is your boss, your husband, a parent. I mean, gosh, I see that
A boyfriend.
so much. Yeah.
Is it more common in men than it is in women? I
Yes.
feel like it is, but I
It
feel
is.
like I know a few female narcissists too.
It is more common in men than women. Interestingly, this is interesting how the diagnostic criteria. This is a personality disorder. It's in Axis 2 of the diagnostic criteria, and there's several personality disorders. And it's interesting. One of them is called borderline personality disorder, which is kind of like the old-fashioned hysterical, like, oh, she's screaming, she's yelling, she's all over the place woman. And there's more borderline women and more narcissistic men. It's kind of cultural because narcissism is kind of more about arrogance, bravado, like, do you know who I am? And so it's interesting how it's kind of culturally fits. You do see female narcissists and you do see male borderlines. But I will tell you as a therapist, it's kind of tricky because we don't even look for that. Like if we have a male borderline, it's kind of like, And then finally 6 months in, we're like, oh wow, because we don't expect a male to be borderline, and we don't expect for a female to be narcissist. Interestingly, oftentimes these two will find each other and date or marry.
Oh.
They're kind of cozy together. But yeah, there's some cultural stuff there.
So narcissism, you always think of someone, we throw that around now in the age of social media. They're such a narcissist. I mean, they're always posting selfies, but in reality, that person is not likely a narcissist. No. I mean, a narcissist has very specific traits.
Yes, and that's what I love about this book is that it's very easy to read, and you can kind of pick a trait per lunch break, and read it and read that chapter and get familiar. And the thing about it is let me caution you, any book that you read, especially Suzanne,
I read 10,000.
And any book that she reads, she's going to call me and be like, am I blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Like, we all do this. So
she made me, okay, I just have a funny side story really quickly. So I was worried my son might have ADD. So she gave me this book, Driven to Distraction, and I called her, I'm like, oh my gosh, I think this is me. But I really do think that is me.
I cannot confirm or deny. You might have a touch of ADD.
I did read this and thought, oh my gosh, maybe I'm a narcissist.
So fun little trait, fun little tip to know. If you read this book and think you're a narcissist, you're probably not a narcissist because one of the traits of narcissist is that they don't see themselves, and they certainly don't see themselves as a narcissist. So interestingly,
they're not self-aware.
Right. And so interesting when I have people read books, almost across the board, 90% of them come back and go, I think that's me. And they're usually reading about something that's not them, but most of us are codependent. So we take on those traits. We're like, oh, I think I do that. I do that. Oh my God, I'm a horrible person. And we want to take responsibility, right? We're overly responsible. So usually if you take on the traits, you're usually just codependent and you make everything that it's yours.
So in this video, we really wanted to show people sort of how to spot a narcissist and, you kind of want to steer clear of them if you're in a dating or situation, how to spot them, how to deal with one if you are in a relationship with one, or if it's your boss or whoever, and then also how not to raise one, because because I think there's a specific way that these people maybe were raised, or something happened to them when they were younger that created this sort of narcissistic disorder.
Well, yeah, I think that it's hard. If you're asking how do I not raise a narcissist, you probably are not because
you have empathy.
The way to raise a narcissist is, one of the ways is to not raise them, right? So a lot of narcissists, so my goal, those are your 3 goals, and I agree with those and I love those. One of my goals, I've had a little bit of a revelation recently as a therapist, and I'm super excited about it. I'm not a real judgmental person. I really try to trust people's process, and I really believe we're all doing the best that we can. But with narcissism, it's very easy to kind of get this information and then tag people and be like, oh, well, this person's not going to change.
There's
no, forget about it. It's all about them. And what I've really become really super compassionate about lately is that people that are narcissists often, they're coming from a ton of wounding. And one of the ways that a narcissist can be created is that there is nobody taking care of them. Like, these are the kids that are riding their bike to their own games. They're getting themselves to their sports. They're finding rides to everything. They're doing their homework by themselves at night.
Coming home to an empty house, right?
They're overachievers. They're handling everything themselves. Maybe they're, mom or dad's alcoholic and the other one's codependent and everything's focused there. But they're not getting what they need. They're not feeling supported. They're not feeling loved. They're cooking their own meals or doing their own laundry. They're just not getting, and it may not even be that. It might just be the emotional support and needs that they need. And at some point when their personality is developing, they make a decision. You know what? If I'm going to have anything I need, I got to get it for myself. I got to take care of me because you're not taking care of me. So I have a lot of compassion, and I think that a lot of people, even people that might have 5 of these traits or 4 of these traits, what we say with personality disorders is you really look at somebody and it's like, wow, they got every one of them. But we all might have some of these traits. Anything you look up, you're going to be able to identify.
Especially certain points in our life, right?
Absolutely. You're going to identify with some of these traits. But are you workable? Are you able to recognize, you know what? I am very self-focused because I didn't have anybody to take care of me. And now I have to learn to have some empathy and compassion for others because it was always just me looking out for me, So I would like to build some compassion for people and teach you how to compassionately deal with somebody if they're difficult.
Yeah. So. All right, so let's talk about some of the traits. And this book lays them out, the 7 deadly sins. Is that what they call them?
Yes.
Deadly? Are they deadly?
Yeah, they're kind of rough.
Yeah. All right.
Why is it all about you? The 7 deadly sins of narcissism.
All right. So the first one is shamelessness. And
so I tagged a little page. For some children, the experience repeated over and over in the course of socialization is so crushing that they never quite get over it, and they spend their lives avoiding anything that makes them feel ashamed. So this is when we're growing up and we're just feeling ashamed. Recent research in neurobiology has shown that the developmental brain is not yet ready to process the intense experience of shame at an age when socialization begins, and that the lack of an emotionally attuned parent at this crucial time can stunt for life the growth and the pathways for regulating such unpleasant emotions. So as you can imagine,
they have a hard time being criticized.
None.
Right.
You cannot criticize me at all because I have no holding space because I didn't have an attuned parent who held me when I cried, when they made fun of me, when something horrible happened at school and my pants fell off as I was doing the running track and everybody laughed, and I didn't have an attuned parent that can hold me when I cry and say, oh gosh, did I tell you what happened to me when I was a kid? And all that supportive stuff that we do. So now I have no shame tolerance. I cannot tolerate. So now when my spouse says to me, did you really leave the alarm off and the door unlocked today? Because when I came in, the door was unlocked. You left the alarm off. Like, thanks a lot. Did you really want us to get robbed? They lose their mind.
Yeah, because you criticize them.
Defensive and reactive and attacking, and will rip you down to a little nugget where there's nothing left of you because you made them feel bad and they have no holding space.
Interesting. The second one is magical thinking, which... it's interesting because when you're dealing with a narcissist, they start to believe whatever story they're telling themselves in their head. And it's not, it doesn't have to be based on reality, right?
Well, if you think about it, if we start at the beginning and say, well, I have no holding place for shame. So if I can't be inadequate, if I can't be not enough, then I got to be the best. I got to be the best. And in order to be the best, a lot of times things don't quite line up to say that I'm the best, but if I can have a delusion and magical thinking and create that, you know what, Suzanne, I am the best person on social media. I don't know if you noticed, but I've got 5 billion followers. Really, 100. It's like they build this thing because that's what they need. And so the truth isn't really lining up. So then they create a story. And then what's fascinating is that story, they tell it enough times that it becomes real.
Yeah.
And they gave an example in the book of somebody who does a holiday party every year. And now in her head, it's the party of the year. It's the party of the century.
Do you know that person?
Yeah. Like, oh my God, are you coming? Because everybody's going to be there, right? And so it's like they're so empty and not feeling good that they have to create this thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, arrogance. I think that goes without saying, right?
This was fascinating what the book said because, we all know that person that's like, excuse me, do they know who I am?
Yeah,
do you not have my table ready for me? I am Jim Bob Jones,
I'm a big deal.
Yeah. I call these people legends in their own minds, right? But here's what the book said that was fascinating. For the narcissist, they are either the best or they are worthless. Now, if you think about that, folks, that's why I want to build some compassion. Can you imagine how hard that would be? Because I am real clear that I am not the best at probably anything. So like if you have to feel that you're the
opposite.
best, but if you have to feel like you're the best or worthless. See, I know I'm not the best, but I know I'm not worthless.
Right.
So if your choices are one of the two, then you've got to be the best at everything.
Right.
And that is a tall order. I mean, that's really painful.
So then you create that in your head.
Yeah.
And that goes along with the next trait, which is envy, because you do see this in narcissists that literally everyone has it better than them. No matter what they have in their life, it's someone's always got it better, right?
Well, what's interesting, I'm going to tweak that a little bit because what's interesting is you will hear them saying the opposite. What you will hear is, Bob thinks he's a big deal with his Maserati. I've had 4 of those. Like, they're not even impressive anymore. Right. Because what they do is their need to be superior. Remember, I'm either the best or I'm worthless. So then when you're the best or you got popularity or people are thinking
they
you're
bring
great,
you down.
Right. Yeah. Suzanne Boyd, she's on the news. Great. But have you met her? She's not that smart. That's what they do.
Right.
And so you can kind of know, like if you're in early dating, this is a helpful one, right? You're on your second or third date and everybody that walks in the restaurant, he's like, oh God, that guy, he's a tool. I know him from my job. You see how he's got the nice jacket and he looks like a good looking guy. He's so stupid. And they're putting everyone down. And there's the fat people and there's the poor people. There's all these categories of people and they're always putting everybody down, and that's
They've
a
got
sign.
a judgment for everyone.
Yeah, because I got to put you down so I can get
higher.
Yeah.
Entitlement is another trait.
Yes.
Which is, I think that goes without saying. Like, I'm entitled to
well, I'm the best.
Yeah, I'm the best. So I should be making not 50 grand, but 100 grand. I mean, why am I only making 50 grand? I just started this job 2 months ago, but right.
No, I am always fascinated by this trait because I'm one of those people that's always like, I just feel so grateful that I got a raise, or I'm so like, it's now $12 an hour. I remember saying that when I first started. I was like, and like raising my prices. Don't say a word, Brian Jones. Don't say a word. But I'm breathing. Yeah. Like that concept of like, I'm worth it. The narcissist is like, oh, are you kidding me? I'm asking for another raise. And you're like, but you just started 3 months ago.
Right.
Like, how are you going to act? You really feel, no, I deserve it. I'm bringing in a lot of business. Like they're always worth it.
Yeah. Entitled.
Exploitation
is another trait. Now, I was a little unclear about what this exactly means.
Well, if you know a narcissist well, you know exactly what this one means. When you do not serve them, you are out.
Oh, so if you can't do something for them, they don't want to be around you.
No.
Gotcha.
So we're neighbors, and I'm always, hey neighbor, how are you? Because you always bring my trash can in, or you always make my yard look better because yours doesn't look as nice. Whatever you're providing for me, when you stop providing it, I'm not even going to spit in your direction. Wow. And so this is the pain of being married to a narcissist. For those women out there that, they meet the guy and they're doting on the guy and he's doting on them.
And they're so charismatic. I mean, narcissists are so charismatic, charming. And they will make you feel like you are the princess.
And if you are what they call their narcissistic supply, you're feeding their ego, you're telling them how gorgeous they are, they're so smart, they're so capable, and you're in early dating, and then you get married and you're doting on them and you're doting on them and they're doting on you and doting on you. Then you get pregnant and you're nauseous and you can't really dote and you feel fat and you're like, yeah, I love you. You're nice. I like your shirt, honey. And you stop doting. They cheat.
Yeah.
Because you are not providing me what I need. So, but she is. You don't have time to tell me that I'm gorgeous because you're sick and having morning sickness. That's too bad because my secretary at the office, she thinks I'm the cat's meow. Right. So this exploitation of, I get what I need from you, but when you stop providing what I need, I will go elsewhere and you are discardable. And there's another book called Help, I'm in Love with a Narcissist. I haven't read it, but when I started giving my clients this one, they came back and said, oh, you got to read this one, because apparently it's a woman who told her life story of being married to a narcissist, and that as soon as she's pregnant, the affair started. As soon as there's small children, and she's like, hi, honey, I can't really talk right now. Johnny's doing that. Honey, don't touch that. And she couldn't pay attention. The affair started. The dismissal started. The disinterest, not really talking to her, or not having sex, or whatever it is. Just like, I'm not really interested in you because you are not interested in me. And so that's a fascinating little ditty with the narcissist, is as you feed them, they feed you. But
the minute you're not able to be there 100%.
Yeah, then they don't really,
And the last one is bad boundaries, which, I think this, you look at people like Harvey Weinstein. I mean, probably classic narcissist, someone like that just thinks that what is yours, or what is mine, and what is yours is mine too.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I would think the bad boundaries is that they take whatever they need. And also there's this kind of like merging of, this will make sense to you. The narcissistic woman, you can tell the narcissistic woman because all of their children's accolades are theirs.
Yeah.
And they're constantly talking about it 24/7. And it's like, hey, Susie, how are you? Oh, well, Roger is fine. He just got promoted at his little, he did his little violin thing, and he's apparently the best kid in the entire class. Right. And he's doing so phenomenal. And Sophie, she is a beautiful, she's modeling since she's born. She's the most beautiful baby you've ever seen in your life. Right. She's won all the awards. And their children's their accolades, their husbands' so you see this a lot, like with the men who are with the model superstar, and it's like, hey, don't look at me, look at her, this is who I'm with, this is who I'm with. Do you see how beautiful she is? That's basically who I am, because we're connected.
Right.
So that like everything's blurred.
Right.
Your fame is mine.
Right.
Your beauty is mine, even though I haven't even brushed my teeth today. But don't pay attention to me, because and then how that's so interesting is oftentimes the narcissist will get angry if you're not in your role. You're coming by the office. Why would you come by your office in sweatpants? You know better than that, right? Because you are me. You're an extension of me.
Right.
And so try to be a child of a narcissist. You're an extension of me. Right. So if you're doing poorly, you're making me look bad, kid.
Right.
And I'm not having it. So there's no separation where your children, it's like I remember saying to my kids when they were younger, and people ask about this, like, well, what do you let them do? Do you let them tattoo? Do you let them pierce? I say, well, I'd rather them not do anything permanent until they're old enough to think it through.
Right.
But, they want to dye their hair purple. Dye your hair purple, because at the end of the day, it's not my hair. I don't have to wear that hair. You got to wear that hair. Because they're not an extension of me. You're not shaming me because you have purple hair. You're you.
Right.
You do you, and I'm me, and I didn't choose that purple hair. You did.
Right.
But it's interesting how it's all kind of muddled together. So children of narcissists have a really hard time because they're not allowed to stumble and fumble. There's so much shaming involved if they make a mistake, because you're making me look bad.
Yeah. It's interesting because in the very beginning you talked about that narcissists are not typically self-aware, that they are not people that ever see themselves for who they are. And so, you said in the beginning, I'd like to give them some compassion because, they are workable and maybe they can change their ways. But how can you change your ways if you're not even aware that you are a narcissist?
Well, it's interesting. There are some narcissists that
don't carry all these traits.
When they carry all these traits, like when I've tried to say something to somebody that carries all these traits, and I say, I wonder if I could have you just take a peek at this. They're like, yeah, no, I don't. That's ridiculous. That's you have a right to your opinion, but that's not me, right? Somebody who's a workable narcissist, I might say something like, is it possible because you didn't have anybody that took care of you growing up? Is it possible that you had to focus so much on self-care that now that you're newly married, it's hard to think in terms of
someone
your wife
else,
because it was always you, and that you want to be that, but you're just not wired that way. And the workable narcissist will say, I could see that. Yeah. I could see that it's kind of a bad habit that, I never did have to think about anybody but me, and I don't have a lot of compassion because nobody had compassion for me. And to really help them massage that, like, yeah, but how horrible did that feel that your parents didn't have compassion for you? Wouldn't you want to have compassion for your son? oh gosh, yeah, I never looked at it that way, but yeah, you know what, I guess you're right. You know, so they're able to, if you can come at it at an angle.
Yeah. So is that how you would deal with a narcissist? Because I mean, if you're married to someone and you're going through this, like, what are some tools that you can use to deal with this person? Great
question. She does good questions. One is, I call it sweet, sour, sweet. So if you know, I think it was the shamelessness, that they have no resting place for criticism, then you do not want to say to your spouse when they walk through the door, hey, I'm really glad you're here. Can you grab that laundry basket that's been sitting for 4 days? I can't carry it upstairs. Can you get it for me? You're going to get punched in the face. Right? Like,
well, let's
that
hope
is
not.
not going to go well.
Right.
They're going to be like, you know, well, excuse me that I work 75 hours and I provide you your BMW. So sweet, sour, sweet. Hey, honey, I know you had a really long day and I know you've been working so many crazy hours lately, but if you could help me, you know, with the fire pit or the whatever, because it's just too heavy for me and I can't really move it. And, you know, whenever you can get to it, because I really appreciate that you're helping me. Sweet, sour, sweet. So you compliment what they do, you ask for what you need, and then you appreciate that or compliment or thank them.
That's a lot of work.
And it feels like a lot of work, but one of the things, again, coming from the Imago perspective, one of the things we recognize is that people marry because of their injuries, and they will marry the perfect person who can re-injure them or heal them if they know and they're conscious of the injury. So if I'm married to somebody who feels inadequate as it is and feels like I'm either the best or I'm worthless, I don't mind saying, you know what, you work your butt off for this family and I appreciate you and I need a little help. And you know what, thank you so much because I know that you're tired. I don't mind putting some salve on that wound where they've been neglected their whole childhood, they've never been appreciated, they've always had to do it on their own. If I can put some salve on that wound and say, you know what, you really are important to me and you're doing a great job and I appreciate you.
Do you do the same if you have a boss that's a narcissist? I mean, how do you deal with someone in that situation?
Yes, because at the end of the day, we all need what we need and we all want what we want. So with a boss, I hate to sound a little callous, but it's like, if you need your boss to hear you, then you're going to have to say it in a certain way. And the only way that they're going to hear, they can't hear criticism. You can't walk in and go, what is going on at this place? It's been crazy. It's like, you know, everybody's dropping the ball. The producers aren't doing what they're supposed to. You're going to get laid out. So you're going to want to say, you know, hey, I know how crazy it's been. I know how overwhelming it is. You know, you want to validate that they're doing the best that they can, that they are doing a great job. But, you know, can we pay attention to this little piece because it's been really hard on me? You definitely want to talk about you because anytime you're talking to you are not doing your job, they're going to be defensive and reactive. So you really want to have I feel statements like, I'm really feeling overwhelmed lately. I know it's probably me. I'm not feeling a lot of support and maybe it's just because everybody's busy, but this is really what I'm needing if it can happen. That way you're not pointing fingers, you know? So I think that it is important. If you want to get your needs met, putting these people on the defensive is a bad idea. You know,
and you say it's pretty hard to raise a narcissist unless you're just completely.
There's two ways. So that's the first way in my, you know, and again, you can probably
completely absent and just
completely absent is one way. And again, you know, I am not an expert on this. This is just my experience from being in the field and whatever. But two ways. One is, I always picture baby boys, right? So the little boy that's not getting any of their needs met and they just go off on their bicycle and handle everything themselves is one way. The other way is, do you know that Italian family or that, you know, cultural family that the first boy is born? Oh, you know, the first boy.
And he's amazing.
He's the and there's 17 family members. Oh, look, he just made a poopy. He made a poopy. He made a poopy. He made a poopy. And there's no other children for like 5 years. And so this baby, everybody's gifting them and holding them and loving them and they're the best of the best of the best. Then at some point, this 13-year-old looks at you like, what? I'm entitled.
Yeah, I'm the best kid ever.
Yeah, excuse me. Like, I have 85 uncles that think I am the best.
Right.
So I think that we do see that. I've certainly seen that where I've seen the person who's like, excuse me, I've been driving a Maserati since I'm 16 and I've been, you know, I know that I am the family heirloom to everything, and that I am, you know, the legacy. You know, they have all this stuff that's been put on them, that they're exceptional.
Right.
So that is the other way that I see this, is like...
So, you know, I feel like that era of like helicopter parenting, where the parents were so on top of their kids and, oh, my kid's the best and blah, 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 and everyone gets a trophy. It kind of did like create more narcissists. I feel like we have more narcissists in our society than we used to. I mean, I could be wrong, but
we definitely
maybe it's just here in South Florida.
No, I feel you. I think we definitely have a ton of more entitlement.
Yeah.
Because if we all get the same trophy and we all get pats on the back for everything, then we're all kind of feeling like we deserve it, we're worth it. And you want to build self-esteem, but what we grew up with it is like, no, you earned it.
Yeah.
Because you are the best track runner on the team, and you earned those accolades, and you have to put in
you
some
get the
hard
trophy,
work.
not
And
the
you
whole
get
team.
the trophy, yeah, because
Right.
you did the time. And so I think our generation's a little less entitled. You know, we're kind of like, we don't assume that we're going to get it. You know, I think that that's the difference. So I can kind of agree with that.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. So if you know a narcissist, if you're married to a narcissist, Shannon believes they can be helped. That's the takeaway.
Well,
seek therapy.
An insightful person who has a workable person who has a lot of injury. Here's the thing. I tell this to everybody as far as dating or marriage or whatever. If you are blessed enough to be watching this and you're like 25 and you're not married yet and you're going on dates, please read this book. And here's what I say to you. Magical question. First date. If you were in a relationship and things got bumpy, or you were married and things got difficult, would you be willing to seek outside help? Nah, I don't really think I would be. I think I pretty much got this. You know, I mean, there's nothing anybody's going to tell me that I don't already know myself. Run. Because what that's telling me is I don't believe in like accountability from outside, because we have blind spots. Like I've been doing this. My first therapy was 3 years old. Not kidding. Right. And then probably really regularly at 10 or 11 or 12, all the way through till now. I still do that to keep myself accountable and to kind of ventilate and get some of the stuff that maybe I take in from clients so that I don't carry it in my skin. Different reasons. But at the end of the day, I have blind spots. I cannot see. There's a certain place in my car that I got, even with my mirrors, just so I can't see. That's the same for me. If I'm in it, I can't always see it. So if you are an objective outsider, I give you the information and you can help me. You know, so when you meet somebody who's so arrogant that, you know,
they got this.
I got it.
Right.
You know, and it might come from a place of scared, they don't want it, or vulnerable. And I understand that. But somebody who literally feels like there's no one who can help them, they know everything they need to know in the whole world and in life, that scares me a little bit.
Yeah. You're talking about 13-year-olds.
Yes.
Just kidding.
16-year-olds, 13-year-olds.
Right.
At about 18.
They know everything.
At about 18, they're at college and they're like, I don't know anything.
Mom.
Right, exactly.
All right. Well, thank you guys for watching. If you have any questions about narcissism or comments, make sure you leave them. Don't forget to get this book. If you are dealing with a narcissist, it will help you understand them and deal with them. And don't forget to leave us comments with any story ideas that you have. Like our page, share our videos, and we appreciate it. Yay. Thank you for watching What Your Friends Won't Tell You.
Yes,
have a great day, guys. Bye.